That's the line that still circles in my mind at night. Quiet, sharp, and cold, like the click of a lock behind a door you didn't expect to close. I remember the exact moment it started. A late afternoon in March, sunlight slanting through the blinds in thin, dusty lines, the kind that makes everything look honest even when nothing truly is. I was standing alone in Daniel's apartment, barefoot on the cool wooden floor, humming while folding laundry he said he was too tired to deal with. Just a simple day. Just a simple chore. And then a zipper I tugged open with no suspicion revealed something that cracked the ground under my feet. A wedding dress. Ivory. Laced. Folded carefully in a dark garment bag. I didn't scream. I didn't drop it. I just stared at it, the weight of confusion settling over me like a thick fog I couldn't walk through. My name wasn't on any wedding registration yet. We hadn't even chosen a date. The dress was not mine. I didn't even like that style. Too much lace, too old-fashioned, with long sleeves like something worn by a woman who lived more in silence than in laughter.
But it meant something.
Something I couldn't name.
Not yet.
I zipped the bag back up slowly, hands trembling, and pretended I had seen nothing, because my brain was still searching for some reasonable explanation. Maybe it belonged to his mother? Maybe he was hiding a surprise? Maybe it was for a photo shoot. He did small freelance photography jobs sometimes. But something inside me, deep and instinctive, whispered, "This is not what you want it to be." And when Daniel came home that evening, smiling tiredly and kissing my forehead like he always did, I didn't say a word. I just watched him, the man I loved, the man I trusted, walk around the apartment as if no secrets lived in the shadows behind him. He didn't feel different, but something between us did. A small hairline crack that would become a canyon. And that was only the beginning. Before everything fell apart, my life was quiet in the way I always prayed for. Not perfect. I don't think perfect lives exist, but warm, predictable, and comfortable enough for me to sleep without hearing my own heartbeat in my ears. I lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment above a bakery. Mornings always smelled like cinnamon and burnt sugar, and evenings carried the soft murmur of families walking home after dinner. I worked as a community health coordinator, a job half paperwork, half people, comforting exhausted mothers, arranging rides for elderly patients, and sometimes holding hands of strangers who needed to be reminded that someone cared. It filled me, even when it drained me. My father had passed years earlier. My mother, well, she was more an echo than a presence in my life. She'd always been distant, carrying secrets the way some women carried heavy purses, never letting them go, even when they broke the straps. We spoke on holidays, sometimes on my birthday. She always sounded worried, even when there was nothing to worry about. Daniel was the one who made the silence feel less heavy. We had been dating for 18 months. He was patient where I was anxious, thoughtful where I was scattered, gentle where I was guarded. He worked as a civil engineer, organized, logical, always taking notes on a small pad he carried everywhere. When he proposed, it wasn't flashy. He didn't kneel in a fancy restaurant or hire a photographer. We were sitting on my living room rug, eating Chinese takeout from the cartons because I was too tired to cook. He looked at me quietly for a long moment, then said, "I don't want a life where you're not in it. Marry me?" I laughed, thinking he was joking, but his eyes were steady, warm, hopeful. So I said yes. And for months, everything felt simple.
Easy.
Like finally, I had stepped into a life that would stay. We blended families gently. He had no siblings. I had none either, or so I believed. Wedding planning was slow, partly because we both worked long hours, partly because Daniel kept saying, "Let's take our time. Just enjoy the engagement." It sounded sweet then. Now I see it as the first thread of a lie pulled taut. Whenever I asked about setting a date, his smile would tighten slightly around the edges, a detail I didn't understand until later. My mother congratulated us over the phone with a voice that sounded strained. She asked a few too many questions about Daniel's past, where he grew up, who his family was, whether I had met everyone. I brushed it off. My mother always worried, but her voice that day carried something unfamiliar, fear. Still, Life continued gently. Morning coffee with Daniel's hand resting on my back. Evenings spent watching old movies while his fingers traced circles on my knee. Sundays where we wandered the farmer's market buying fresh fruit we never finished. Just quiet love. Just steady days. Until the wedding dress changed everything. But even then, I didn't investigate. I didn't want to become the kind of woman who suspects the man she loves. So I told myself a story, a comfortable, harmless lie, and tucked the truth away, convincing myself it would disappear if I ignored it long enough. But secrets don't fade. They grow teeth. And mine had been growing for years before I even saw its shadow. As the days went by, I tried to keep living normally. I tried to see Daniel through the same soft lens I always had. But little things began to stand out. Silences that lasted a second too long. Phone calls he took in the hallway instead of beside me. Sudden weekend. Work emergencies. Small things. Harmless things. Unless you know what to look for. But back then I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I clung to the life we had built. The laughter. The shared toothbrush holder. The framed picture of us at the lake on his nightstand. I held it like someone holding a fragile glass bowl, refusing to see the cracks spreading beneath their fingertips. Because love, when it's deep, can make you blind. And I was so very in love.